everybody! So, I've been trying to do this video tutorial for about a week and a half now, and it's kind of impossible because there's so much to do and so much going on, so I finally got the chance to sit down and I'm gonna go over everything. If you haven't seen my last video, I went over shooting and settings that I used, and these are the pictures as a result of that photo shoot. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and check out the first video because it'll kind of give you some insight on how I took these pictures and behind the scenes and all that good stuff. So in the last video I talked about shooting in RAW, and the extension for RAW is CR2, and what's great about RAW is you can edit the picture if it's underexposed, if it's overexposed. So right now I'm going to go ahead and open up one of the images from my photo shoot, and I'm using Photoshop 5, CS5, and my 5D Mark II. So as you can see here, it just opens up like a little window right here. That's what it'll do if the picture is RAW. If it's a regular JPEG, it'll literally just open normal, like nothing special. So what's really nice about RAW is, let's say like this image was underexposed, it would kind of look like this. What you can do is bring it up, or if it's overexposed like this, you can kind of bring down all those tones. So it's nice because if you make a mistake while shooting, you can kind of compensate by using the RAW window and kind of making sure all the settings are what you wanted, even if you messed up during shooting. Personally, I don't really touch a lot of stuff in RAW. On occasion, I'll bring up the recovery if there's too much weight in the picture. I'll really just play with the exposure sometimes. Sometimes I'll play with temperature, but not regularly. As you can see, you can change the color of your picture depending on what kind of mood you want. Again, I usually just keep this as shot. You can kind of play with the white balance here by switching it up. See, it has a lot of different options. Again, I really don't use any special kind of settings, which I probably should, but I don't. I know a lot of other photographers do, but guess I'm just one of the few. I'm just one of those weirdos. So right now I'm going to open up another image that I already had prepped for this tutorial. So we're going to go ahead and open that image. So I've got the image that I wanted to use open. And what we're going to be doing to retouch this image is we're going to be using a technique called frequency separation. So we're going to be separating the texture of the skin from the color of the skin to minimize any skin destructive retouching. We don't want it to look airbrushed, we want it to look clean, and we want it to look natural. So to begin, you're going to go ahead and make 2 copies of your background layer. You're going to name the first one texture, and you're going to name the second one color. Now you're going to go ahead and turn off the texture layer so only the color is showing right now. Go ahead and go to filter and then go to Gaussian blur. And you're going to want to set it to around 5.0 pixels just so that you can see all the colors meshing in there. And then you're going to go ahead and turn on your texture layer and then go to image, apply image. Now you're going to change the offset here. You can change the scale to 2. Keep the offset at 0. Opacity 100. Blending, switch it over to add. You're going to want to invert this because that's how it'll look inverted. So you want to invert the channel. And the layer you want to choose is your color layer. And of course, just keep the source as is. Then you're going to go ahead and click OK. So as you can see, it created kind of like an outline. That's what you want. So go ahead and switch it from normal to linear light. And as you can see, it's just like your normal picture, nothing really changed. So you go ahead and just make this into a little group. I just press, just highlight them both and then press Command G to make it into a group. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually go ahead and start the process of retouching. So I use the healing brush tool. Um, no real special settings. I keep everything pretty much the same. Here, size 50, hardness 100, spacing 25, roundness 100. So nothing really too special. I am using a tablet. It is easier to retouch with a tablet. I can't imagine using my touchpad to do this. But invest in a tablet. It's a good investment. I always make copies of all my layers because I'm just paranoid like that. But if you're kind of confident, then go ahead, do it on one layer. You know, live the fast life. You know what I mean? So we're going to do is press Alt to begin retouching. And what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be focusing on the color of the skin. So any discoloration we're going to be fixing. We're not focusing so much on blemishes and all that other stuff. So let's just begin with a little bit of color correction here. I'm just going to be filling in this area where some of the blush seems to be missing. And then go ahead and just, again, fill in any areas that are, the skin tones don't match. And I'll show you how this looks like. And I'm just constantly pressing Alt and then clicking away. Like, I don't really stop. I'm kind of like a mad person at this. So I'm over here just retouching near the eye area. So what I just did, let's see that difference. Can you tell, like here, I'll zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see. So I literally just patched up this one area that was discolored. And you're going to keep doing this until the skin looks fairly good. And just fixing this color of the skin and filling in all those dark shadows will make the skin look better immediately. Like, you don't even have to do intense retouching beyond color correction. Of course we will be doing that just because you want it to look cleaner, so we'll do both. So again, patching up all that discoloration. I'm going to show you before and after. Just anything that doesn't look like it blends together, just kind of take a piece from the clean area and heal the area. Do not use the clone stamp, please. I hate the clone stamp. and you'll be able to tell if you use it or not. Be careful around sensitive areas. You don't want to go too much. Like, I try not to mess with this area too much because if you use the healing brush over it a little, it'll look weird. So I'm going to go ahead and retouch the rest of this area. And as for the eyeshadow, I'm going to try to fill it in right here. You see how it just fills in that color? Show you before and after. See how it just fills in that one area? And I don't know if you guys can hear the ice cream truck outside. It's really obnoxious. See, this is why it takes me so long to do a video tutorial, because so many distractions. The eyeshadow's looking pretty good now. Just patch that in right here so that it's a complete circle. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the before and after. As you can see, it's a really dramatic change. Just even here, the skin is just cleaner. It just looks cleaner. I'm noticing over here it's not really as patched up as it could be, so I'm just going to go over that. And at first, when I started doing this, I literally didn't even use 2-layer. I just would edit, retouch on the same JPEG image, and I didn't know any better. But there are better ways to do it. So for under the eyes, the clone stamp is a good tool, but don't get too crazy with it. Hit the opacity at around 11%. I'm going to, of course, make another copy. Go ahead and press Alt and fill in that small area right there. And again, it's at 11%. You can use this if you need to just fill in like a smaller area that the healing brush can't get because it'll destroy, it'll just color blend it really strangely. Everything else looks pretty good. Another trick that I like to use is I like to make another layer called skin. It's right underneath the texture layer. And then take your brush tool and then go ahead and figure out what color you want to use for the skin, and then make sure that this is set to lighten and about 11% again. You don't want it to be too crazy. And you can actually color in and make it even more smooth. I don't do this for all my pictures, but sometimes it's nice because then for these stubborn areas, like I don't have to clone anything. I can just add in a little bit of color and it'll correct it. Again, just you're sampling the color and then you're going over it. And this is set to lighten at 11%. I'll show you what difference that makes. So let's just take the skin layer on and off. And if you can tell that small difference. And honestly, if you really look at it, I didn't really do anything crazy. Apart from that eye area, I didn't airbrush to the point of you can't recognize this girl, she doesn't look like herself. If you zoom out, it looks very natural. It looks retouched, but it looks at least professional. Say that. I mean, in my opinion, it looks pretty good. So, how you would do other parts of the skin, just go ahead and take your color layer and again do the same exact thing. Now for areas such as this is where I like to use that skin layer because I don't have to destroy this entire area, like where her bones are and everything. So again, the skin, patch this area up right here. Use a skin layer and then use the exact same color. We're just going to go over it and see how it just lightens up that area. And same right here. There's a little bit of red right here that I want to get rid of. Just go over it. And again, you're using the skin layer set to lighten at 11%. You're just kind of like coloring this in. I mean, we've all colored once in our lives, so it's one big coloring book. Retouching. Okay, so everything looks pretty good. And I will show you guys so far the retouching turned off and on. As you can tell, it's a huge difference. I mean, I could retouch this area, but it's not really too much of a concern to me. It is very blurry, so it kind of already retouched itself. So let's go ahead and add those highlights right now. So we're going to make a layer called highlights. Drag it to the very top. Go to image. Go to edit, fill. I've been using Photoshop for how long? I don't even know where anything is. I still mix everything up. So go ahead and hit 50% gray at 100%. Press OK. Make sure this layer is set to soft light. The reason why we added gray is that so you can see where you're making the highlights. Because if you were to do this on a regular layer, you would not be able to see. See how you can't really see the skin? That's why you would add a gray so that it wouldn't affect anything, but you'd be able to see the changes that you're making. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to normal. I'm usually do this at around 11%. I think 11 is like my favorite number when retouching because I don't go very crazy with opacity. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of add in a little bit of shadow over here. But I don't want her to look like she just got like punched in the eye, so it's going to take me a couple of tries to do this. Do that very subtle. And you can switch by pressing X to the white, which will bring out all the highlights. So every place that you see that has white, you're going to go ahead and use the white and just kind of highlight it almost. See, you can already see that kind of makes a difference. So actually, let's just do the highlights right now. The white color. Just filling in all those areas. And then switching back to black. Wasn't that like Amy Winehouse? Back to black. I should just incorporate like random songs like Nickelback or something. Just random. Okay, no, not everyone hates Nickelback, so never mind. So we're just again going over this with the black, contouring. If you're a makeup artist, you'll really appreciate this because I know you guys get all crazy with contouring. You can even add in for the eye makeup as well. And then add in a little bit of highlight right here. So the face is going to really look like this when you're finished. Fear not, it will not stay like this. She will not look like she left halfway through her makeup session. It's going to look better. Just going to go ahead and fill in everything. So let me show you the before and after. I'm going to go ahead and turn down the opacity to an appropriate, see, I think 33 is not bad. The worst part is like trying to figure out what is a good opacity. I think 31 is not bad. Yeah, 31 is not bad. Let's just set it to like 30. And then we're going to go ahead and tackle the eyes. Go ahead and make a new layer. I'm just going to fill in. Again, the opacity is at 11%, and you're just going to kind of draw in the area around the eye. Then you're going to set it to soft light. So it kind of brings out the eyes a little more. Then you're going to make another layer and go ahead and use overlay and then go over the eyes. You can like up the... She looks like Transformers or something, right? We will not be keeping this, don't worry everybody. Okay. And you're going to lower that opacity down a lot. So, the last thing that we need to tackle is the texture of the skin, which I left for last because there wasn't really a lot of texture that needed to be restored in this picture. But for instance, stuff that the color, you can't fix with the color, you can fix with the texture. So again, you're holding Alt, and then you're fixing small blemishes, if there are any pimples. This is the tool to use. I like to keep my brush kind of small when doing this, because if you use a bigger brush, it will take a bigger amount of pixels, and that's not what you want. So again, same thing with the color. So for instance, this right here, you just click and drag, and you fill in, you like patch it up. Especially for hairs, if you're trying to get rid of hairs, you just use a very tiny brush size and then you just go over it. I find that works a lot easier. problem. This area is going to give me a problem. I just know it. And go back to my color layer. Use the clone stamp on this. It's the but no, it's the texture. Life of, I feel like I'm like graphic designing now, but I'm really not. Go ahead and just patch up that area. Oh my god. This can be like kind of frustrating just because there'd be like this one piece of skin that just doesn't work out. It's like, no, don't leave me, and then it just makes it into a big mess and you have to stay and retouch it for like 10 hours. And it's a learning process, definitely. But I can see that it's really the color that's kind of messing me up here, so I'm going to try to patch that in. Oh, there we go. I feel like I'm getting somewhere. And that's going to bother me till my deathbed, so I'm going to have to fix it. There we go. I literally just added in that skin layer, that one area that was being very stubborn. Okay. And let me just toggle my layers on and off. You can see there's already a huge difference. And remember to save, always, because if you can't trust Photoshop, Photoshop will flip on you and it'll go crazy. It'll just shut down and you'll be left crying. Thankfully, this has only happened to me a handful of times, so... Okay. Now we can go over just fine-tuning some details using the texture. Oh. And this is the image that we have so far, which I think it's pretty good, looking pretty good. So now we're going to move on to coloring. So I'm going to go ahead and begin that.